All right, guys, how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing on this Sunday morning? I just want to give a special shout out to last week where we had Mac the Giants fan, Cool Cat, and Philly Sports Rap filling in for us last week. Really appreciate that, guys. Thank you all so much. Whoever tuned in last week, very, very awesome. But I'm here with my guys, the original crew, me, Nikki Steeds, and Football Talk with Bo. How's everyone doing?
Good. How about you, man?
I'm doing good. I
Great.
got a nice little break. I got the Eagles like at 4:00, 4:30 my time. So nice little break. How about yourself, Bo?
Yeah, doing good. We got the early game, right? And of course, on the West Coast, that means it's 10 a.m. So I always appreciate that. A good breakfast game is nice. So
And I got some good news.
I, I
Next
just
week,
know.
I'll
Yeah.
be able to do the full show next week at.
oh,
All
nice.
right. So,
Like
sounds
this
good.
week's going to be kind of the same format, but next week I should be able to do the full show.
All good. All good. I just gotta ask you, Bo. Did you get a new camera?
No. So I actually changed rooms. Um,
Oh.
so I have a friend that's going to stay with me, and so I moved out of the room that my whole setup was in. So it's kind of a work in progress where it's at. But so my camera sits at a little bit different angle as I'm working on this thing.
I like it. It's different. It's like very different. So I really like it. It looks
Yeah, it's
clearer.
funny. That's the response I've gotten a lot of. Is they're like, "Oh yeah, I kind of like it being off center like that."
Yeah. But it's not normal guy. The month of December, month of Christmas, the month of Hanukkah, month of holidays, and we're just here to talk football. So let's get started. Nikki, I'm gonna start with you. Winners of last week, man.
Well, it's ironic because I thought about right beforehand. I'm like, you got my team, the Eagles. I'll start
Yep.
off with that because you went up against the Rams team that, despite being a mediocre record, they're kind of like the stepping stone team or the test team to see how good a team really is. And it was a big test for the Eagles defense going against two of the best receivers. And they passed that test. They managed to minimize their efficiency. They held them. I mean, they held them down throughout most of the game, and their offense was in sync. And we actually got a hot start too. I mean, 13 points in the first half
Yeah.
for Eagle standards, that's good. Then the second half, which is when they usually get hot, they took off in the second half. So that was a breath of fresh air to see a hot start. And then, right, you even look at that fumble on the opening drive. That was a big momentum setter because if we didn't get that, you could have been talking a 14-3 Rams lead. And
Uh huh.
something that simple changes the tone of the game early. But all around, it's good performance by the Eagles. And Saquon made a valid case for MVP contention.
Yeah.
And Bo, I got to give your team props, the Seahawks,
Mhm.
because kind of like around Octoberish, we're thinking, this team's doomed. And they've managed to fight their way back in. And they're temporarily in first place for the NFC West. Now, even if they're not the odds-on favorite to win the division by January, as of now, they're in contention to possibly win
You know
that
what's
division.
You know what's funny is even though they're leading the division at the moment, the last thing I saw had them as a 34% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So nobody believes where they're at. Hey, what's happening, Chad?
But hey, I got to give that team credit. They found a way. They haven't lost hope. They're at least still fighting and trying to make a push for the playoffs. And
I mean, you have to in that division, right? I mean, everybody's within a game.
right. And I mean, a lot of people, I think, really thought last week the Cardinals were going to get to them because the Cardinals had been on a wave of momentum. I even said that Kyler was a dark horse candidate for MVP. And here come the Seahawks. They held them to 6 points.
Mhm.
And that's nice right there. I got to give that team credit. And you had Kobe Bryant, what was it? One of the awards, right? It was like Defensive Player of the Week for the NFC.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was it was a good week for him, and you really got to like what you've seen out of that Seahawks defense over the last 2 weeks. Like they've started to minimize some of the mistakes they were making. And one of them in this last game is they really didn't have a lot of penalties, which is something that has plagued this team all year. So they were able to kind of shut the run down a little bit. They were not penalized constantly. It was kind of, they were playing football. It was crazy.
And then last one, I got to go with the Green Bay Packers. You can take what they did last Sunday, Josh Jacobs having himself a field day, and take what they did on Thursday, beating the Miami Dolphins. Jordan Love had himself a good performance too. Like, you take a look, we're at that point, November, December, the Packers are starting to look dangerous. This could be a momentum setter, possibly for the playoffs, where maybe even if they don't win the division, they get the 5 seed or the 6 seed. They could possibly win a game or two, maybe make an appearance in the NFC Championship game. It is possible if they keep this momentum up. So you definitely got to consider a team that's getting hot this time a winner, because usually the teams that get hot around December can make that push, and sometimes it happens. Like the 07 Giants got hot at the right time, and we all know what happened there.
Oh God, don't remind me of that. Don't remind me of that, Nikki. But
hey,
Bo,
I gotta
how about you?
respect it though.
Yeah, but they're still my rivals, and now they suck now.
Yeah.
That they do. For me, I'm going to go with the first winner is the Bears, because in a loss, they finally fire their head coach, and they can try and move forward. So that is sort of a win in a loss. So I'll go with the Bears there. The Broncos, just quietly coming along, and I mean, they're a problem, right? That defense has been elite all year. The offense is starting to put up points. So as we get closer to the playoffs, it does look like they'll probably get in. They can be a problem. And I'm with you. I took the Packers. The Packers are playing really good football.
Yep. So for me, I got the Packers, obviously, even though they did defeat the 49ers, who were depleted, who were kind of injured. But hey, the 49ers, I want them to keep going down. I just got to give a shout out to my Eagles as well, especially Saquon Barkley. My God. Thank you, Giants. That's my winner every single week, just saying thank you, Giants. That's all I got to say for that. Yeah, I think that's it. And I have to go with the Bears as well. So for me, for firing Matt Eberflus, we're going to talk about that in a second as well.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Bo, we're going to start off with you. Losers of last week.
I mean, it's got to be Commanders, right? They're on a 3-game skid, and they're just finding ways to lose games. And so, I mean, obviously that is an issue. The Giants, for just mishandling everything they possibly can, right? Like, if there was a wrong way to go about stuff, they've been targeting doing it that way. So I was really disappointed that the Cowboys didn't go grab Daniel Jones, because I thought it would have been hilarious if they immediately gave him the start and then beat the Giants with Daniel Jones. Could have been the funniest storyline ever, but they didn't do it. He ends up with the Vikings. But yeah, just the Giants being a dumpster fire. And then the Raiders for very similar reasons.
Nikki.
Okay, I'm gonna start. Actually, what normal guys said, 2 of them were my losers. Start with the Commanders. You're off to a 7-2 start. They lost. They were going on a 2-game losing streak heading to the Cowboys game against good teams, but still, it's like, okay, they lost competitive games to 2 good teams. Okay, maybe this is the game they bounce back, get that 8th win against a struggling Cowboys team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. They struggled throughout the game. I mean, I understand division rivals games. Sometimes teams play up. I mean, I could understand if it were a close game, but the Commanders still won. It'd be like, okay, Cowboys played up for the rivalry game, but the Commanders still did their job and won. But that's not what happened. They lost to a team with their backup quarterback. It's just like the way they lost to the Cowboys. I'm just under the circumstances. It's like, really, Commanders?
Yeah.
I mean, now we're starting to wonder if they'll even make the playoffs. There is some doubt, but I mean, I still think they'll beat the Titans and bounce back. I think the Titans was a fluke last week, but now there's a bunch of doubt about the Commanders headed into December. So that's a big L for them right there alone. And that ties into the next loser, the Houston Texans.
Yep.
And CJ Stroud, I mean, look at his stats. I know they don't tell the whole story, but in this case, there's an indication. 9 interceptions as opposed to 5 last season. that's one indication that he's taken a step back. I mean, early on in the season, it was still okay because, like, all right, they beat Buffalo. They did have a competitive game against Green Bay. They were still winning games, but now they're starting to lose more games, including to the Tennessee Titans. You know, like, even if they win this division, they might just win it with 9 wins because it's a dumpster fire division. That's not really an improvement to me. I mean, I feel like they got to get something going, and Stroud's got to realize, hey, teams were picking up on you. They had all season to scout you, and now they started to figure out your style. It's not as easy to dominate. So they got to improve, and that's certainly an L. And the last one, I'm actually going to go with a team that's doing good, but the Steelers. We were talking about you as potential dark horse contenders, saying if they were going to try to make a run, maybe this would be the 1 year. You got Russell Wilson, who's not the former Russell Wilson of Seattle, but he's done a better job in this system. Maybe there's a chance at a deeper playoff run. But now after losing to the Browns, I'm like, is this the 2020 Steelers all over again where they're getting exposed as frauds?
So,
maybe
the Browns are funny though, because they are a good roster, right? Like they should be able to be winning more games than they are. So I don't really hate on a divisional loss with a team that should be better than they're playing.
Yep. That's right there. All right, Bo. You losers. All right, Roy.
I went through mine.
Yeah, I know. Deja vu. Long day already.
We can answer Chad's question though, real quick.
Yeah, go for that.
Yeah, so Chad, it might actually be a decent time to trade Lockett if you can. And the only reason I say that is the Bears are the only the lightest defense they're going to see the rest of the way. And they haven't been targeting Lockett really all year. They've been really focused on JSN. So if I remember right, Lockett only has 2 touchdowns on this season, and he has only been like a 10-point or better fantasy point guy like 4 or 5 times. So unfortunately, it's just a down year for Lockett. Not that I think that Ricky's going to be amazing, but Lockett just isn't getting the targets. So it's hard to put up points if the ball isn't coming your way.
All right. And then Nova guy comes in and says, look ahead. The Texans have 2 games, December 21st against the Chiefs, the 25th. The Ravens short week 2. Yeah, they got a tough week. But I'm really, well, I'm not excited, but I'm glad that you mentioned the Chiefs. They're my losers for this week, even though they won. They should not have let the Panthers come back to be that close to win. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. The freaking Panthers going up against the Chiefs.
I wanted the Panthers.
I wanted them. I did too. So freaking bad. But they were my losers for that one. And I have to go with the Giants again. 30-7 against the Buccaneers. Every week they're going to be a loser and a winner for Jimmy and Saquon Barkley. So every single week. And the last one
right now, right?
Huh?
They have the number 1 overall pick right now, don't they? Or
I think so, yeah.
Second? Something like that.
I think they're number 1 with that. So, and my other loser, I'm going to give it to the 49ers, actually. They lost again. They are now 5-6 compared to what they were last week. I know they're having injuries, but that's holding them back. So, for me, that's the next one. And speaking of Daniel Jones earlier, he goes with the Vikings. So we're going to start off with Nikki on this one. How do you feel about that? Him going to the Vikings? Go for it.
Oh, gosh. I mean, hey, at least Daniel Jones will get a paycheck for now.
Yep.
But I don't, what else is there really to say, honestly? This just all it does is validate that, yeah, the Giants made a massive mistake in giving him the contract. Like we needed any more validation. We already knew that. And I guess for the Vikings, I mean, you have a backup quarterback. But you already got Sam Darnold as your temporary guy. But either way, it's going to be odd because then you got to go back to J.J. McCarthy. So either way, they're in that. That makes me think about that more. The odd position they're in now with Darnold and then McCarthy, who's supposed to be the guy for the future. And at this point, Daniel Jones on the Vikings is an afterthought.
Yep, that is true. Bo, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a great move for the Vikings. They get him for nothing, right? Because the Giants are still paying him. So what, they're going to give him $500,000 to finish the season? And they didn't have a viable backup for Darnold if he happened to get hurt. Now, Darnold has, been healthy throughout his career, but they didn't have a good option behind Darnold if he did get hurt. So now you have Daniel Jones, who is not an elite talent, right? Nobody's going to say he is. Like, there's nothing great there. But if he's your backup, he can come in and win you some games. So I like this pickup for the Vikings. It didn't cost him anything, and it's a significant upgrade over the empty hole that was the rest of their quarterback room.
And for me, I was watching one of my Vikings content creators. He was making a video about it, and he brought up the fact that Daniel Jones should be like a Taysom Hill kind of route. He can run. He is athletic with Daniel Jones, but I'm just saying, like, I don't see him doing anything. Just if Sam Darnold gets injured, he'll be right in. Or maybe if the Vikings are up by so much or down by so much, he'll get a couple of garbage time minutes. So that's the way I see it. But the Taysom Hill thing, I'm not for that. No, I am not.
I mean, that's a wild take to be a Taysom Hill because, I mean, yeah, he can run a little bit. But, like, if you wanted to sum up his career with the Giants, he breaks away, he runs for 80 yards, and falls down on his own, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't believe that he's going to be able to do some of that Taysom Hill stuff. Taysom Hill is a freak athlete, right?
Yeah.
Like, the dude is crazy with the amount of versatility he has in his game. Daniel Jones isn't that guy. Can he run? Sure. But let's pump the brakes a little bit on him being able to do that type of stuff.
Again, it's a Vikings fan. So that's all I'm saying. You're trying to make the best out of nothing. So for me, I'm just sitting back and laughing. But, hey, hopefully it works out for Daniel Jones. Hopefully the Giants are paying him. The Vikings don't have to pay a single dime. And good for the Vikings. Still kind of funny. I just wish that he didn't leave the Giants. I really wanted him to stay there, but Better choose.
Does it even matter? Because that offensive line is so bad. Like, everybody they've had behind that offensive line just gets murdered all day.
But it adds more. It adds more when you're going up against a Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock.
Yep.
I mean, they need something. They really need something. So the Bears have finally fired Matt Eberflus.
Yep.
After what happened against the Packers, we're going to talk about that for sure. So, Nikki, start off with you, man. Matt Eberflus getting canned.
The one guy that was holding the Bears back the most. I mean, even during the Justin Fields year, granted, Justin Fields wasn't the best quarterback, but even then he found a way to stand in the way of the team to some degree. And then, because even with that brief time he was starting for the Steelers when Wilson was out, he did play better at times. And now you flash forward to this year with Caleb Williams. A lot of people were hyping the Bears as potential playoff contenders going into the season, especially once J.J. McCarthy was ruled out. You thought, okay, the Vikings are going to be a struggling team. Okay, that should give the Bears at least an opportunity, maybe at the 7th seed. And throughout the season, Bears were handicapped by Matt Eberflus the whole time. And this also speaks to organizational problems, too, because it seems like time and time again we point to, oh, this coach is holding the team back. This coach is preventing the Bears from reaching their true potential. Ever since they canned Lovie Smith, it's been that way the past decade. And now, here you are again, Matt Eberflus. You see the same thing. And it all boils down to the worst decision he made on Thanksgiving. You have one timeout left. You would think, call that timeout. Try to go for a pass along the sidelines. Maybe try to get out of bounds, stop the clock, give the field goal unit an opportunity to tie the game. Or even if you try to get out of bounds, you don't get out of bounds, run quickly, spike the ball, send the field goal unit out, tie the game, and go to overtime. Something along those lines. The Bears go an entirely different direction, slowly take their time lining up to the line of scrimmage, not really sure what they were going to do with a timeout to figure out what they were going to do. And they took so much time off the clock, and then they tried to go for a pass on the final play, came nowhere near the end zone and didn't even complete the pass. Clock runs out on them. And even Tony Romo just subtly says, they had a timeout. I mean, that tells you everything you know about the decision making. Even on Friday when I went to the gym, briefly talked to the owner, was like, hey, how was your Thanksgiving? Kind of like, oh, football and family. And even he points out, so first thing he points to is the Bears decision. He's not even a Bears fan, but even he notices that. I'm like, it was the obvious. Why didn't I mean, but that was just the icing on the cake for a terrible tenure of constant underachieving. Because even last season, you thought they might be playoff contenders. Didn't happen. Part maybe Justin Fields wasn't the guy you thought he was going to be, and part coaching. And now this year, you have Caleb Williams, who showed some flashes as a passer, but ultimately the team's still struggling. They're not finding their groove. I mean, you've seen moments where Williams has showed flashes of good, but the team as a whole has been held back. And it's crazy. They come all the way back only for the dumbest decision to prevent, not that they would have actually won, but it screwed over any chance they had of pulling off the comeback. Just due to stupid, incompetent coaching. I mean, that's really what I can leave it. Now, the Bears, they need to really go back to the drawing board and reevaluate or redo their interview process for their next head coach hire differently. Because obviously you're doing something wrong with the interview. You keep getting these coaches that lead to underachieving time and time again. You need to reevaluate what you're looking for out of a coach. That's the biggest thing I'll say for the Bears in the future. Whoever wants to take it away, floor is yours.
Yeah. Bo.
Yeah, I mean, it's clock management was wild, right? To somehow not get a field goal shot with 32 seconds left is crazy. And I laughed a little bit when you said Fields was better at times. It's not exactly a glowing endorsement. Like
it's not. It's not. That's the thing.
He's not great, but like here's some history with the Bears that shows you that this is an organizational problem, not just a coach issue. Now, Eberflus should have been fired last year, right? Like they were wildly underachieving. The fact that they fired his entire coaching staff but brought him back made absolutely no sense. But we've seen this movie before with the Bears. So in 17, right, they draft Mitch Trubisky. They have John Fox, his rookie season, fire Fox at the end of that season, right? Then you go to 2001, you got Fields. They have Matt Nagy. After his rookie season, they fire Matt Nagy. Now you fast forward to Williams here. Eberflus gets to be the first Bears coach to be fired mid-season. They don't historically don't do that. But the biggest thing is they've been finding consistent ways to set back first round quarterback picks because they basically bring them in for their rookie season. Then they fire all the coaching and they have to end up with a new offensive coordinator and everything into their second year. So they end up setting all these guys back. I mean, even if these guys were going to be good, it's hard to be good if the system is changing all the time. So it's good they fired him, but realistically, they need something within the organization to change if they're ever going to be good.
Yeah. Here's something for me about this whole thing. I didn't even know about it until my dad told me. They fired him after the press conference.
Yes.
They fired him right after. Like, oh, we got all this stuff to do. I'm looking forward to next week, and boom, you canned.
You know,
like,
it wasn't the post-game presser. It was the next morning presser. So,
right.
So, you know, we're all waking up that next morning and like, oh, somehow he didn't get fired. This is weird. Seems like a Doug Peterson thing that somehow he's going to survive. And then after he does his press conference, then he's fired. It's like, that's a weird time to do it.
It's just like you can't even fire the guy right. Like you're not even doing your job right. Now you can't even let him go right. It's just like, who's the interim coach now?
Oh, I forget his name offhand.
I really do. If someone in the chat could tell us who the interim head coach is, because right now the Chicago Bears are the unluckiest team in the NFL right now. With all those block kicks, the Hail Mary.
Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown? Okay. He's in rude awakening. I'm telling you, because Chicago Bears, I would love for them to get the second overall pick and start from scratch. If they could get the second overall pick, the Giants in the first, I think the Panthers will get the second one and the Bears third, but you get the point.
Hmm.
But I just I didn't even see the clip from the press conference. I didn't even see it. My dad was like, Mitch, he got canned after the press. I'm like, what? I'm like, no way. I'm like, dang. Yeah, that's honestly hilarious. And I'm going to say that I said this, I'll say it again. The Bears are the unluckiest team in the NFL right now. Maybe of all time, but right now. Oh, my God. But, hey, speaking of Thanksgiving, what do you guys think of the Thanksgiving games? What do you guys think? Well, let's start off with you.
Yeah, so I thought that the Giants-Cowboys game was accurately placed in the middle there. That way you've eaten a lot of food, you're ready for a nap, and that game wasn't worth watching. So that one, the scheduling made sense. The other two games were pretty good.
Yeah. Hold on. We got a question here for you from Chad. Is that a good trade? Tyler Lockett for Deontay Johnson?
I mean, Deontay is interesting because they either really go to him or really don't. Like he's had some games that were crazy, right? And he's putting up over 20 points. And then he's had some games that are, like 2. So, I mean, in that scenario, I'd probably actually keep Lockett because at least he's getting something. When the Ravens don't use him, like they don't use him. So, I mean, at least with Lockett, he's going to get a couple of touches during the day. But, yeah, I mean, that one's tough because they're such a run-heavy team. Because, I mean, again, there's been a couple of them where it's been like 21, 23, something like that. And, you look at those numbers and you're like, oh, yeah, I need this guy on my team. And then they turn right around and he has like a 2-point game. So it's tough to want to start a guy that's that inconsistent.
Yeah. And Arku brings up a good point. Dolphins can't win in cold weather. They can't do anything in the cold weather. So, Nikki, how do you feel about Thanksgiving games?
I mean, the first game between the Lions and the Bears, to be fair, even with the cluster finish, it did turn out to be a solid game for something I thought was going to be a snooze fest. So at least we got a decent early game. Cowboys Giants, I mostly skipped that game. I caught bits and pieces, but honestly, I wasn't really watching it that much. I was mostly listening to music, checking my DMs from family members, hitting the treadmill a little bit. And then the night game, I caught the first half of it. But to be fair, hey, that was at least at least you got some more offense going out of it. It wasn't the most competitive game, but at least you had some semblance of offense out of it. And the Packers at least looked impressive. So I give them that. And to Arku's point, before the game, when I went with my picks, I'm like, I got to go with the Packers because, the Dolphins struggle on the road this time of year. It's like, I've always thought kind of off subject. If Dolphins wanted a quarterback, they should usually go for a quarterback that's used to playing in the cold weather just to help them that stretch of the year. But that's neither here nor there. That's a discussion for another time. But I mean, 2 of the games were at least watchable. The Giants Cowboys was a snooze fest. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, I watched all 3 also, Alexander, but that one was kind of a boring game.
Yeah, I did not really care for any of them, honestly. I didn't even care for any of them. I just watched the end of the Bears and Packers. That's all I watched, honestly. I'm like, what is this do? What are they doing? And then when I was out to eat, I'm usually the guy in my family. Everyone goes to Mitch, go to the bar and tell us the score. or whatever. I'm always that guy. So they will be like, Mitch, what's the score? Oh, I'm like, Cowboys are up by 13. It's over. I'm like, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now we got to get into the predictions for the week. Let me pull this up real quick. What game are you guys looking forward to this weekend besides your own? Nikki, let's start off with you on this one.
Beside my own, I have to take a second to think about that one. Let me just look at double.
Here,
check
I got it. I
real
got it.
quick. You know, I'm thinking actually Pittsburgh and Cincinnati looks like a decent game, even looks like a decent game because that could be a competitive game. Or at least there's some semblance of, it could be a competitive game that comes down to the wire. That might be a decent one. Or even
This one right here.
or Vikings and Cardinals. That's a good one.
Yep.
I'm going to go with this one, actually. Because the Falcons, man, I feel like they can win this. I'm still picking Chargers, but I still feel like they can win. Bo, how about you? How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I took the Chargers here also. The Falcons are just too inconsistent to feel good about picking them against a good defense. And, the Chargers quietly have, a top 5 defense. So it's they should be able to beat up on Atlanta. That being said, when Atlanta's clicking, they can beat anybody. So this should be a competitive game, but I did take the Chargers.
All right, Nikki.
I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one because at least with the Chargers, I feel like, hey, they're the better team of the two, and the Falcons, we've kind of seen them come crashing a little bit to, okay, you're winning a bland division. And the Chargers, at least, hey, even though they did lose to the Ravens, they at least put up a fight, and they at least showed they have some hope for the future. Even though I don't think they're contenders yet, Harbaugh's done a solid job turning that team around into a potential contender for the future. So I still think as of now, the Chargers.
I'm going to go with the Chargers as well. I don't know, but something's telling me it's going to be it's going to be a very close game at the end. Someone's going to tell me that. And everyone in the chat is going Chargers, so Chad, Alexander.
Atlanta's going to win. Everybody's on the Chargers. Atlanta gets the dub.
Yeah. Here we go. Steelers at the Bengals. Nikki, let's start with you. We'll go up.
I am actually going to go with the Steelers to rebound themselves. And some people are looking at the fact that the Bengals scored against the Ravens. But to be fair, this is the same Steelers defense that forced 3 turnovers and kept the Ravens in check to 16 points. So I don't think the Bengals offense will be as efficient. And the Steelers, this could go either way, but the Steelers might have a shot, should win this one.
All right. Bo?
Yeah, Alexander, it actually wouldn't be an upset. The Bengals are favored in this game. But I'm taking the Steelers here as well. And the biggest thing is the Bengals don't play defense. So Wilson doesn't have to be amazing because everybody can score on the Bengals. I mean, the way the Bengals win is to outrun teams. And with that Steelers defense, another top 5 defense, I don't see the Bengals scoring every time, which takes a lot of pressure off of that Steelers front. So I'm going to go with the Steelers on the road here.
I got the Steelers as well. I mean, Brown has been killing it for them on the running back game, but I'm still going with the Steelers with that defense. I can't go wrong with that. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cardinals versus Vikings. I could see this being like it's not really an upset per se, but it's going to be a very close game. I'm going to go with Minnesota. Feel like they're a better team. Bo?
Likewise. Yeah, I like Minnesota here, especially at home. Arizona can absolutely win this game. They're an inconsistent team, so you don't know which Cardinals team is showing up. It could be the one where Kyler's going to go off and they can get a win, or it can be one where they, score 6 points against the Seahawks. So you just don't know. So I'm going to take the Vikings. They're just far more consistent. You kind of know what to expect.
Nikki.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings in this one because the Cardinals, they've gotten better, but they're just a competitive team at best. Vikings, they found ways to win consistently throughout the season, and they have a solid roster. They should be able to do it again. Whereas the Cardinals have mostly had an easy schedule.
Nikki, who you got now?
I got the Colts in this one.
I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Bo?
Yeah, I also have the Colts here. New England just doesn't have an offense.
No. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got the Colts here. The Pacers are gonna get a top 5 pick in the draft. I really feel that way. Next one. Brees Hall is questionable. Rappaport just tweeted that out. So I'm gonna still go with Seattle. Still gonna go with Seattle. Bo?
Yeah, I have Seattle here. The Jets are such a dysfunctional team, and
Yeah.
every move they make makes them worse. So I'm going to go with Seattle on the road here, gets the win.
Yep, Seattle.
This should be a close game between Colts and Pacers. I could see it being a close game. I really can, but I still feel like I don't even know who the quarterback is of the Colts. Is it going to be Richardson or Joe Flacco?
Richardson.
It's going to be Richardson? Okay. Watch them bench him and put Joe Flacco in the last second. Seahawks. I don't know what they're doing over there. I really don't. So, Nikki, you're going to Seattle, right? Nikki,
He's gone.
What was that again?
you're going to Seattle?
Yes.
All right. And then Nikki, you're up.
I'll go Commanders in this one. I'm not letting last week fool me.
What happened last week again?
Well, the Titans beating the Texans and the Commanders losing to the Cowboys. I think that was just a one-off for the Titans and the Commanders. I know they're struggling, but they should at least win this one.
Yep. All right, Bo.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Commanders stop the bleeding here and finally get a win. Can't sleep on Tennessee, though. Although their offense isn't impressive, they have the number 1 defense in the league. And when you think of the fact that their offense is terrible and not on the field a lot, for them to still be leading in defense means that defense is no joke. So I like what Tennessee can do. I don't think it'll be quite enough, but it'll probably be a pretty competitive game.
I got the Commanders as well. I really want Tennessee to win because so it gives us a bigger cushion of the number 1 seed. And I'm always going to say this. Thank you, Tennessee, for A.J. Brown. I'm going to keep on saying that too. Every team's being helpful for us. Every team's just giving the best player. I love it. It's great. I know what it feels like to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Yeah,
So I'm so mad at them for giving the Chiefs Hopkins.
Yes.
I'm going to be mad at them for the rest of my life. Like, why?
Yep. Stop
You're
helping
telling
that
me
team.
like any other team could not use Hopkins?
Well, especially for what they gave him.
What was it, a third?
It was a 4th. Like there was, they basically just gave him away. Like it made no sense at all.
Oh my God. I will be forever mad and thankful for the Titans. So, I don't know. Oh my God. Is this the game that Doug Peterson's going to get fired?
Maybe.
I mean, if there was ever a game he should have been fired, it was against the Lions, right? They beat him by 50 points, and then they had their bye week, right? Like if you were going to have an interim head coach, you just got smacked, and now your interim head coach could have had 2 weeks to work with the team to get ready for this weekend, and instead, Doug Peterson's still in the building, and they're about to get ran over by the Texans.
Yeah, I think we're all going with Houston. I don't think we're Nikki. Houston?
Yes. Oh my God.
All right, Nikki, right back at you.
Okay,
Rams,
I got
Saints.
Rams, yeah, because at least they're at least a solid team, and we know the Saints are doo-doo, so
Yep.
it's pretty self-explanatory. Rams should win this one.
And Alexander, I don't know how you almost picked the Jags. I don't know how you almost did that. They're going to be a top 5 pick as well. I don't know how you almost picked the Jags.
I mean, the Jags are going to accidentally win another game, though.
Right? It depends on against who, though.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the thing. It's going to be a team that's looking past them.
yeah, a draft game. So,
Exactly.
Bo, you're going with Rams?
Yeah. I mean, the Saints haven't shown us anything, and obviously they fired Dennis Allen. They got that 1-game bump after the head coach gets fired that you win a game, and then now it's just going to be, probably just shy of losing the rest of the way.
I'm going with the Rams, especially after the loss they took to my Eagles last week. I feel like they need a bounce back win, and this is a good time for them to do that. Oh God!
Who is this?
Anyone?
Are they the Jag or the Panthers, or they're just on the team?
I don't know. It's probably like the third string quarterback be like, "Yes, we're gonna win, and I'm still getting paid."
Right.
So, anyone going with the Panthers? No. Eagles, Ravens. Finally, I think this is the best game of the weekend.
Easily.
Yeah, I have. You know what I'm going with, Bo. I'm going to start off with you, because me and Nikki are pretty much going to go with the Eagles here.
Yeah. No, I'm going to take the Ravens at home here. Actually, I like what the Eagles are doing. I like this matchup. It is hands down the game of the week.
Yeah.
But Baltimore's at home. I think they can just edge it out. Obviously, people are super split when you look at the percentages there. But I mean, this is a game that's so evenly matched that it doesn't matter who wins. Whoever wins, you're gonna be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Nikki?
I'm gonna be a homer and take the Eagles, but this should definitely be a
obviously.
good matchup.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun.
It's gonna be a battle.
Saquon Barkley against Derrick Henry.
Yep.
It's still going to be an MVP given to a quarterback. So, I don't know what they're fighting for. So, I'm still going to go with the Eagles on this one. It's going to be a very fun, interesting game. I will be streaming that with Cool Cat. Oh, my living God. This feels like a Niners could win. It really feels like the Niners could win. Nikki?
He had to go.
Oh, okay, Bo.
So I got Buffalo here. The Niners still have too many injuries. Even the guys that they're getting back are still banged up. They're not 100%. And the Bills might be one of, if not the most complete team in the league, right? Not the most explosive, but on all three phases, they're very consistent. And, so yeah, I have Buffalo at home. Plus, what they were supposed to get like 21 inches of snow last night. So I don't know that the Niners are going to be ready for a snow game. So I'm definitely going Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Buffalo as well, especially with the defense. Josh Allen's playing well. And the Niners, like I said earlier, they're injured. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I feel like they're not going to be able to overtake this. And this is the Monday night game. Are you kidding me? Browns and Broncos. Know how this
get flexed. Like this should have been flexed out, but I'm taking the Broncos.
I'm going to take the Broncos as well. I'm not even going to watch this game. I'm going to watch the basketball game. So I'm just like, yeah, this is not a good game as well. Yeah, slow games. We see Niners and Bills, Broncos, Ravens. Yep. All right, so that's going to conclude for the Sunday morning show. A very quick one. Hopefully, James has a good Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll probably see him next week. So, Bo, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, so you can find me on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, all the socials at Football Talk with Bo, and of course, Roku TV 5 days a week.
All right, guys, you can catch me on the Hardcore Sports Network. You'll see me live for the Eagles game later on today. You'll see me on Stream Punk Entertainment for the Eagles post game today. Got a lot of work to do today. And with that being said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like. Subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network. Make sure you guys hit the like notification bell. And we'll catch you all next week. Have a great football week. Have a great football day, everyone. Peace.